Walking on the railroad, I set my booty on the track. I saw this kid with the knapsack, so I snatched my booty back. I said, look here, partner, you know you can't be me. I'll be the one that ain't too now, and you know it's true. Now move on, I got the fellas jealous cause I flows like none. I got the whole 9, need not back a gun. No need for greed, see your takes, then I fades to a young. Sprung on the air that I rave. You can't conceive how I breathe and I weaves. Here over there may appear some fearful to smear. We're gonna have an abundance. Alright, say alright, did you know that?
Comparing those thoughts and behaviors to past generations. In fact, millennials are at an advantage when one takes into consideration the advanced technology and access to information we have today. Unfortunately, the elite powers are keen to this idea, hence their labored and dedicated efforts at bombarding the media with garbage, making distracting and highly addictive technology, and most destructive of all, promoting the vitality of sex and pleasure as representations of the highest accomplishments in life. This generation is being taught to rebel and to do as thou wilt. The same old serpent lies, yet new and improved with billions of dollars behind them. Knowing that, it would be foolish to lump all millennials into, cultural categories. For now, we can focus on 3 major categories that seem to be trapping a very large percentage of the demographic, in turn arresting their development socially and mentally, but most important, spiritually. Before we get into these groups, let's remember they are not exclusive to millennials. Many of us Generation X kids are lumped in, and many Generation Z kids are being added to the list at an alarming rate at that. But let's continue. A simple way to frame these categories is by general features. So we have the largest group, which I call pop culture or grandpappy culture, the daddy of the generation. Or how Plato would state it, the legal guardian. Pop culture is described by the general feature of mainstream, the base programming of society. Here we find A-list Hollywood, major network TV, top 40, and hip-hop or electronic pop music. Fanboys and fangirls, twerkers and dabbers, Drake lemmings and Beyonce beehive or hive-minded minions. This category of culture creation is the corporate interest, prison industrial complex, and new left epicenter. Mind control at its highest level, basically. Here we find heavy drug promotion, lust programming, sexuality confusion and perversion, double-mindedness to the 10th degree, feminized male and warrior goddess programming, feminine dominance and male hatred, race baiting, endless consumption and little brain function, and hours of application activity. Poor conversational skills, yet elaborate Snapchat stories and social media posts. This culture is represented by the talkers, not so much the doers, the followers, the greedy, the envious, and lustful. Sports fanatics, though sports in total are rigged, they seem to worship them. We find Spotify, iTunes, Instagram, promiscuity and emptiness, Netflix and chill, binge watching, which increases programming tenfold. This group runs on money, orgasms, cocaine, pot, and alcohol, and of course, pills. Next, we have the doers, Unlike the talkers or followers of pop culture, this culture actually gets out and does things, though they are just as deceived and spin their wheels in vain. This is the modern counterculture. Though it is wide in its range and has many subdivisions and offshoots, we will focus on the majority. One could look at this counterculture as being the hipsters. This category holds the grouping feature of rebellion. The so-called independent thinkers, the progressive and open-minded. Though a mind left open like a tin can is subject to be filled with trash and waste, hence the counterculture. Very opinionated, emotional, and self-righteous, this group leans on their libraries and education for confidence, or their favorite philosopher, historian, or existentialist thinker. They love Nietzsche, Locke, Descartes, Baldwin, Marx, and the like. Yet they are completely oblivious to the echo chamber they inhabit and the long and strategic methods employed by elite powers to rewrite history books and shape the opinions and imaginations of generations. This counterculture is surely the offspring of the original counterculture, the new left's brainchild, the authoritarian personality and critical theory of the modern era. Joseph Campbell, Timothy Leary, and Al Hubbard would be proud. They are part of the New Enlightenment, the ego and expression culture. Here we find the formers of social movements, Black consciousness organizations, social justice warriors, rabid feminists and gay rights activists out for blood, not equality, delusional animal rights activists and vegans, or test tube babies of the Club of Rome, UNESCO, and the World Wildlife Federation. New World Order proxy warriors. If you want to control the opposition, you become the opposition. Control the war by managing the conflict. Controlled education and controlled politics that they all seem to wholeheartedly fight over. Enlightened and lippy, yet their minds are filled with propaganda only. This is our second category plaguing the millennial generation. The hipster, pseudo-intellect info warriors in vintage clothing. Women with hairy armpits or shaved, it doesn't really matter. They both believe in abortion and fight for the women's right to murder innocent God-given life. And yet, love is all. Love is love. But is it really? I guess it depends on who you're talking to. Beta males and man bags, independent movies and Starbucks or Pete's Coffee if you're hardcore. I think you get the point. Let's not forget the techies and their startups, atheist belief systems and Babylonian lifestyles, more cocaine, more pot, and hallucinogens. Well, drugs are always a key feature in these countercultures and created cultures in general. It's somewhat of the fuel that moves the engine, if you will. Lastly, we have the emotionally and mentally disturbed subcultures. Yes, their severity ranges, but all individuals involved in these scenes or cults are to some degree emotionally imbalanced. The grouping feature of this culture is dysphoria. Here within the category, we find the presence of neurotic individuals, extreme narcissists, extreme introverts, extreme music, extreme everything. Within the subcultures, we find a high percentage of bipolar and mood disorders, personality disorders, grand delusion, and intense spiritual unrest or possession. Drugs are usually a part of these circles, though many times they are not, because the mere psychosis of some of these kids renders them in no need of sensory enhancement. Though energy drinks and high sugar products seem to have replaced water consumption, health is at the bottom of the priority list for these groups. It saddens me to witness the level of confusion and pain these kids go through, though I understand there's a war being waged against them. For the subculture group, it's being waged through the music and decadent satanic bands, brain-melting video game playing, fantasy media like anime, and medieval wizard and dragon lore. Here we find the outcasts, and what some would call weirdos or nerds, though now they have become freaks of nature, begging for attention and a place to call home. Descending from a mixture of metal and punk movements, new wave and Silicon Valley tech, this new subculture division of millennials is next level confusion, superior dissociation and groupthink, goth, emo, scene kids, club kids, weebos, ravers, and cosplay heads. The Aquarian age has truly been personified. As the most disturbing factor and revealing of the lost state we are in is the circle within this subculture called otherkin, the next step in identity psychology, where kids are now identifying as something other than human, like animals, plants, and even demonic creatures. And there is a huge, huge movement for these otherkin millennials. These subcultures tend to have most activity and communion on Tumblr, the most depraved application in the MK Ultra Tech program. Snapchat and Instagram are popular as well, and online gaming is also a haven for the subculture. This dysphoric millennial group is by far the most severely affected culture by MK Ultra mind control. By use of drugs, technology, and debasing music, these poor kids have completely lost their minds.
I think they can guess I'm a little bit different. Wearing a collar, a tail, my personal preference. So people don't want to be seen as any different. They want to fit in. But I've given up on fitting in. My name is Laura, and I believe that I am spiritually and mentally a wolf-dog hybrid. It's a very spiritual thing for me, so I am a wolf. To chew things if I'm stressed, but most of the time I'm pretty normal.
So from the millennial pop culture, counterculture, and subcultures, we can see the level of distraction and confusion that is being placed on the largest and most influential demographic in the nation. Strategic programs have been developed for these groups to submerge themselves in. Things like Vivo, Twitter, WorldStar, Vine, BET, and Snapchat have literally replaced reality with weaponized media. Yet we are taught these are signs of technological growth and social progress. If we only understood that mainstream music technology has been designed to create a debased culture. As Aldous Huxley stated, melodies ingrain themselves in the listener's mind. Setting information to melodies gives them power and programmability. People will adopt their behaviors from entertainment through learning. With the addition of fashion, you include the self-conscious factor, or ego recognition. This is why we see uniforms accompanying a type of music. This consolidates the culture, the thinking and perspective. Same brands, same fits, styles, trends, same slang terms. This is groupthink. And social media and hashtag technology has only increased the programming of this concept. They produce and sell image, the ultimate Bernaysian method of mind control. It's all about debasement. They can sell anything and create an entire culture from it. Drugs, violence, and blind arrogance, so they make drill music and trap artists available globally. Idolatry through celebritism or gods and goddess worship. They mix sex with music and drugs, and it becomes the new generation's milk. Just like the old sex, drugs, and rock and roll of the past, they roll out the same program.